Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Garden Geo. The original OP is Am I the Asshole, Mother or Not? In r/Am I the Asshole, March 24th, 2019. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter to give up on her dreams? Basically, I'm a doctor who graduated from one of the top med schools in the country. Because of this, I know what it takes to make it as a doctor. My eldest daughter is also on a medical track. She goes to a top 20 school and is excelling. She's a junior and will probably get into one of the best med schools next year. My youngest daughter is not like us. For my eldest daughter and I, math and science come more naturally. It's not something we need to work hard at. My youngest daughter, however, really struggles with these topics. In college, she has to study for her STEM classes for hours and hours just to get the average grade at a school that's not very difficult. My daughter, to her credit, is a very hard worker, and I admire that. However, that hard work could be placed to a field that she can really excel in, instead of being a doctor. She will always struggle in med school, but she can take her talents elsewhere, becoming an amazing law or business major. The drama is that she called me yesterday and told me she had trouble getting accepted with an internship, and asked if she could work with me this summer. I basically told her she should reconsider medical professions because she spends all day studying and she's barely average. And I don't think she can succeed as a doctor, but I reassured her that it's okay and she can find something else to shine in. On the phone, she was really quiet, and I ended the phone call with, "I love you." After this, I have my eldest daughter, ex-husband, mother, and siblings spamming me and telling me to apologize. Youngest won't even pick up the phone. I understand that her feelings may have been hurt, and while that's valid, I think tough love will help her in the future. For example, it may have hurt her feelings when she was younger because I wouldn't let her eat cookies for dinner. But as a parent, you need to protect your children, even when it hurts them in the short term. Too Long Didn't Read told daughter she wouldn't succeed as a doctor, now everyone is mad. Am I the asshole? Comments. Commenter 1. You're the asshole. Sounds like you're holding her against a standard set by yourself and the golden child. As a struggling student who's the younger brother of a prodigy, this kind of stuff really sucks for her. She's a hard worker, which is what counts, and if she really can't succeed in this field, she needs to figure it out for herself. She's not going to accept that just because you think it. I would be supportive of her while she figures out what she's doing in this part of her life. Comment 2, in response. I agree the mother should be more supportive, but I'm confused about why so many people think her daughter interning with her would be a good idea. It's straight up nepotism. Colleagues will be resentful. It would look terrible on her application, and if it doesn't go well, she could seriously harm her mother's standing at work. Comment 3. As a pre-med, it's very telling. Not everyone is cut out for medicine, it's just a fact. If she's struggling at her state school, medical school will be hell. It's just a fact. It's not just another college. If you just can't grasp the material as strongly as your peers, you will fail. Comment 4. No assholes here. Med school is tough. The job is even worse. You need to have certain personality traits and a certain level of intelligence to excel at it. Maybe she just doesn't have what it takes, and I don't mean that she is in any way worse than your other child or you. You are the asshole. My only issue is, why did you tell her that on the phone? You should have talked to her in person and explained why you think she should do something else. Maybe she struggles because it's not really what she wants to do. Is being a doctor her dream/plan, or is it just because a big part of her family followed this path? What are her other options? You just dumped your opinion on her without following up or showing an alternative. OP responds, I agree. Doing it on the phone wasn't the best. It was impulsive of me. I should have done the conversation when she came back for break and planned it out. Comment 5. You're the asshole. Based on everyone's reactions, it sounds like you really mishandled that conversation. OP responds, to be fair, my daughter has a tendency to overdramatize things. My ex-husband called me up and raged at me because I called our daughter stupid, which I absolutely did not and would never do. My eldest daughter said youngest thinks I think eldest is better than her, which I again 100% did not say. Comment 6. No assholes here, this one is tough. You're not being malicious, you're her mother. and you've grown up with her for 2 decades. Pre-med is brutal. Medical school is even worse, and residency is hell. If she's struggling now, it only gets worse. I don't think entertaining other career options is a horrible idea. Comment 7. Not the asshole. We live in a culture that places a lot of emphasis on the importance of never giving up and pursuing your dreams. The problem is that while this can produce Cinderella stories about inspiring CEOs who rose from nothing, tons of the time it's toxic and harmful and causes people to endure stress and suffering of their own design. A lot more people burn out and die of ODs and suicide trying to become big Hollywood stars or famous musicians than actually succeed at those tasks. And of course, lots of them do things even when they do succeed in becoming famous. Twice in my life, I've given up on dreams that I had spent years and untold sweat and blood and passion, dreams I really wanted to pursue. They were probably the 2 best decisions of my life. There's absolutely nothing wrong with giving up on a dream. Sometimes it's completely necessary. The reality is that no one is suited to be a success in every possible field. That doesn't mean you can't walk away with valuable lessons and experiences from that effort. I wanted to be a professional chef and then a soldier. Those dreams went up in smoke, but I learned a lot along the way that I bring with me now as a teacher. A job that I found I am actually good at and suited for. You won't get a ton of support for it in this thread, or real life, probably. Pursue your dreams no matter what is just catchier on a motivational poster and makes people feel good to say. But you're doing the right thing in giving your daughter the advice that will actually help her in life, and that's worth putting up with people thinking you're an asshole. OP responds, "Thank you. On my dad's side of the family, pursue your dreams message doesn't exist. People are more practical. My dad was always practical and honest with me when he was alive, and I try to emulate his values every day. Sometimes it's best to give up." Additional details from OP in the comments. Are you the type of parent that has hyped up med school? Your point gave me a lot to think about. My family is very medicine-oriented, and she probably thinks I don't think she's good enough for what I present as the ultimate goal. You opened my eyes, and I appreciate your point. Next time I have a day off, I'm going to fly down to her college and have a real conversation with her. How are you supporting her? OP responds, I'll accept my judgment, but it's presumptuous to assume I haven't helped my daughter out. In high school, she had the best tutors. In college, she doesn't have to do anything non-academic. I completely subsidize her so that she doesn't have to worry about getting a job. I do whatever it takes to help my daughter succeed. My daughter has wanted to be a doctor since she was 10, and I have supported her in it. She shadowed me in high school, and up until college, I was on board with her being a doctor. Again, you're assuming I'm this terrible mother who always put her daughter's dreams down. This is the only time I suggested something different, and I still told her I would support her in anything she chooses. I have a general question for the sub. What do you mean by supporting her? 3 years down the line, if she isn't doing well and getting internships, should I still say follow your dreams? Also, why should I just give her a job because she's my daughter? That's the very definition of nepotism. I get internship applications every year from better qualified candidates. I already let her shadow me. I don't see why she's entitled to an internship with me. I understand, but I'm paying a lot of money for her schooling. It's not on her own, it affects me too. OP responding to the question of, is medicine superior? I will accept most of this, but how can you assume I think I'm better because I'm a doctor? No, I think my daughter is bright, and she does have different kinds of intelligence. Unfortunately, these kinds of intelligence are not helpful for being a doctor. I'm trying to get her to use those different kinds of intelligence in something that needs it. I love being a doctor, but I don't think I'm superior for being one. I have great respect for all professions. Just because I think mine is hard in some specific aspects doesn't mean other professions are unworthy. If I thought they were, wouldn't I push my daughter harder to be a doctor because it's the only acceptable thing? You Redditors are making a lot of assumptions about who I am as a person. Update 1. 2 months later. Hello Reddit, some people asked for an update on this post, so here it is. I considered writing a closer to our initial reconciliation, but I'm glad I didn't, because the situation became bigger than I thought it would. My daughter unblocked me so she could call me, and she ripped me apart almost as harshly as you guys did, telling me I never believed in her, that I think she's an idiot, etc. I apologized profusely and told her that I didn't realize the damage I was about to do when I made my comments. and promised that I would support her in her journey in any way possible. I asked her if there was anything I could help her with to make this journey less difficult and told her I'd find an internship opportunity with one of my colleagues. The conversation was pretty heavy on both sides. The two of us couldn't stop crying. But it seemed like after my apology, we were in a better place. Despite still having reservations as her ability as a doctor, I was going to try to support her. Well, the semester ended and grades come in any day now. Last night, she sat me down, practically in tears. She told me that she wanted to prepare me, but she was going to get an F in a class. I was literally dumbfounded. She told me she was caught cheating on a test. She basically blamed me. She said after our conversation there was too much pressure on her, so she caved and sneaked a whole sheet of notes into her test. That F, combined with an academic integrity violation, basically ensured that med school wouldn't be an option anymore. When I found out, I was less angry and more extremely distraught. I apologized for putting so much pressure on her, but told her that being a doctor sincerely isn't worth losing her integrity. She told me that a part of her realized I had a point during our first conversation. She likely would not get into med school with her current grades. So she tried even harder to achieve her goals, studying longer hours, using supplemental books, doing endless practice problems, but when she kept getting below the mean on her orgo practice tests, she tried it with notes and got above the mean. She thought it would be a foolproof plan. This is definitely not the update I wanted to give Reddit. Thank you for understanding. Comments. Comment 1. This is so heartbreaking to read. OP, I know you probably had the right intentions in the first place, but I feel for your daughter. The path to becoming a doctor is so grueling, but it sounds like she gave it her all. Maybe it would have been better the system crushed her dreams and not her own parent. I hope you're both able to grow from this experience and that she finds her path. OP responds, I wish I hadn't said anything at all now. Comment 2. OP, you're not the asshole. I wish my parents had given me that discussion during my second year of university. Just not over the phone. Ultimately, you can rest assured you had her best interests in heart. Also, she will be able to land on her feet if she finishes school well enough, takes a few years to get experience, and then applies to a program more suited to her. She'll do just fine. Comment 3. OP, I'm sorry. I know you feel horrible and so does she. Maybe she can go to the local community college and get her GPA up and get her core classes out of the way. Cheaper than transferring to a university with a cleaner slate. There's nothing saying that she can't reasonably achieve something medically related. A speech pathologist, physical therapist, nurse, respiratory therapist, x-ray tech. Encourage her to keep going despite this little bump. It may be better for her to go get a GED and go to the community college. That's what I did. Money is hard, and the education transfers. Update 2. I have a group chat with my daughters. I sent them a link to this suggestion, comment 3, because I thought it would be helpful. My older daughter found the post and read it. She called me and was extremely upset and told me not to feel bad for my daughter. Apparently, the reason my daughter was getting subpar grades was because she wasn't putting in the effort. She'd call me and say she spent hours studying and doing problem sets, but really has been partying her ass off and buying study sheets for tests. As I'm writing this, I'm dumbfounded, and I can barely believe it. I don't believe it, to be honest. I'm going to approach my daughter and talk to her about this. Not sure if I'm updating again. Update 3. Daughter and I had a long talk, and it's a doozy. So her freshman year, she actually put in effort. She was trying hard, so those hours of studying weren't a lie. However, she had a very traumatic life event that she did not tell anyone about, and spiraled after that. She stopped caring about her classes, thinking she could easily get a job as a doctor via cheating. She did illicit drugs basically daily. When I called her, she realized her lifestyle wasn't sustainable, as in, she could not become a doctor and would have to put an effort to achieve that goal. But she wanted to continue her lifestyle. So, she then got caught cheating. She told me she doesn't even have a passion for medicine anymore, or anything. She's just numb. She says it's easy to be happy around her family because we only see her for a short period of time, but she had been hiding her whole life and sadness from us. To me, this sounds like severe depression. We'll definitely be going to individual and family therapy. Well, that took an unfortunate, heavy turn. I think OP's biggest mistake here was how they approached the conversation with her daughter. Because the thing is, not everyone's suited for every kind of field, and if someone's really struggling with a specific field, encouraging them to pursue it further despite the kind of pain it's causing is just going to do more damage in the long run. It's a tricky and not fun conversation because no parent wants to tell a child that they need to give up on their dreams, but no parent also wants to see their child suffering to obtain those dreams. And is it her dream, or is it the dream that she's given herself because that's what the family is doing? I also wouldn't be surprised if throughout the daughter's life, if she was given the impression that she wouldn't be favored or loved by her mother if she didn't become a doctor, even if on accident. I wouldn't be surprised if the stress of that got to her, and she ended up in a risky situation, and ended up just kind of pulling away from reality. It's also unfortunate that whatever may have happened to the daughter, she didn't feel safe enough coming to OP or any of her family members for that kind of assistance or for just help getting through whatever happened to her. I also think some of the mom's language may be a bit telling, like when she stated, which I again 100% did not say, in regards to thinking the eldest is better than her. Like, sure, you didn't say it, but are you thinking it? Are you potentially maybe through your actions giving that impression? This might be an unfortunate situation where the mother accidentally had a golden child, still supported the younger daughter, but it was clear where the interests were in the daughter that was pursuing a similar field and excelling in it, leaving the proverbial black sheep to burn out. From OP's comments, I don't get the impression that she hates her daughter either. It does sound like she genuinely wants to try and support her. She just fucked up with her language and, well, did more harm than good. I think that the OP is no matter what the asshole for how she initially approached that conversation, and just kind of dropping it over the phone. That should have been a conversation in person, and thought about more in depth on how to actually have that conversation in a constructive way. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think on this one, because this one is tragic and messy, and leaves me unsure how to feel about the whole thing in its entirety. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is eating others' cupcakes, and eating others' cupcakes too. Posted November 5th, 2014 to r/relationships. Me, 42 female, with my husband, 43 male, 12 years. Has a coworker, mid-20s female, being inappropriate? Using a throwaway. About a year ago, my husband hired a mid-20-year-old girl to work in his department. He's her supervisor, and from the day she started, I could tell by the way that my husband talked about her that he maybe had a little crush on her. I didn't feel threatened by this because I thought it was only natural because there are very few women that work in his company, and the ones that do are older. So it seemed pretty natural to develop an innocent crush on the new young 20-something girl. About a month after she started, things started to get a little weird. Like, he would constantly come home with homemade baked goods, like cupcakes, cakes, breads, etc., that she had made for him. Not the office, but for him. I got a little alarmed, but I'm not naturally a jealous person, so I just assumed this girl was trying to be nice, and it helps to have the boss be your friend. Then, a couple of months ago, things have started to get really weird. He bought her a birthday present and took her out to lunch, and then about 2 weeks later, he comes home with clothing that she bought for him for a present. It wasn't a holiday or his birthday, it was just something that she bought for him. My first reaction was, what the fuck? But I didn't say anything because I didn't want to make any accusations without proof, I guess. About a week later, my husband was brought into his boss's office, was told that there are rumors that both him and this girl are having an affair, and that wasn't appropriate. When he was telling me this story, it was like he seriously didn't see anything weird about them buying presents for each other, her making him baked goods, or them going out to lunch together, alone. I immediately told him to stop accepting presents from her, and he agreed, but just a few days later, he comes home with a variety of homemade bread. She's now buying presents for our 2 kids, and I'm just finding this whole thing strange and really inappropriate. I guess maybe I'm finding it difficult to see if this is really inappropriate or if I'm just overreacting. Too long didn't read, husband's much younger employee is making and buying presents for him. Is this really appropriate? Update 1, December 15th, 2014, 6 weeks later. I forgot the password to the throwaway that I used for that account, so I made a new account since I know how much updates are liked. I left out one detail in my original post. At the time, I was pregnant. Like, due any day pregnant. I've since given birth to a healthy little boy, but this little tidbit of info makes my original post, my update, a little more messed up. On to the update. A few days after my original post, I snooped in his laptop bag and did not like what I had found. Let's just say there was obvious items that would be used for sex, so all my suspicions were confirmed. He was having an affair with this girl. I confronted him immediately when he got home and found out that they were having an affair for about 2 months. So I kicked him out. A couple of days went by and he wanted to talk, so we did. We talked for half a day, and it was brutal, to say the least. We talked about the affair, what drove him to an affair, and how neither of us was really happy, just comfortable with our relationship. We both admitted that there was a lot of things that we both did and didn't do in our relationship, and that having an affair was not a cause but a symptom of a stale relationship. We had grown apart, become comfortable. We had made each other our last priority in life, and basically we had functioned as roommates other than partners. We hadn't had sex since our baby was conceived and had limited sexual or intimate contact prior to that. We both basically ignored each other. He played video games and ignored his family while I took over and became a super parent. Neither of us felt appreciated, wanted, or needed from the other person. Honestly, I was planning on filing for divorce soon after the birth of our baby, and he the same, but shit got real when I kicked him out. We both got a glance into the life that was in store for us, and it kind of sucked. He moved back home, we had the baby, and now we're rebuilding our commitment, which is really fucking hard. We're in marriage counseling and are really trying to move past this and rediscover the person that we had fallen in love with. None of this is easy, and some days I question why I didn't kick him for good, but at the end of the day, we have kids, and we owe it to our kids to see if there are any possibilities for happiness as a couple and partners before breaking it off, lawyering it up, and hitting the gym. We're in a very delicate position right now, but lots of stuff has improved. I've relinquished control and let him help out and do things and let him do them his way. He's stepped up and started helping out with the kids, making dinner, doing chores, and spending time with his family. We're making each other our top priority instead of the kids, work, or our hobbies. We talk about everything, and we don't let things bottle up or ignore things. We have good days and bad days, and we talk on both types of days, whether it's the affair or something that the other person did that we didn't like. Anything. We're open and honest and try to be as transparent as possible on everything, especially him. I do not trust him, and he is really trying to rebuild that trust. Like I said, things are delicate but are improving, and we're both hopeful that one day we can move past this. We're trying to look at the affair as something that kicked us both in the ass to make us realize that we do love each other, and our relationship is worth trying to rebuild. It was a wake-up call to both of us. As for the girl, I contacted her to let her know how their actions affected me and my family. She has not accepted any responsibility for any of this and blames my husband solely, even though she knew he was married. I will not have any further contact with her. She's looking for a new job, but for the next 2 weeks, they're stuck working next to each other. In January, she'll be moving out of his group, but hopefully, she leaves the company altogether. If she does not, my husband has been looking for a new job and will leave the company if she isn't gone within a reasonable time frame. She has suggested that she's looking for a new job. He has unfriended her on Facebook, blocked her, and she's blocked him. They are not to talk to each other or be alone together for any reason, and any communication will only be about business. We will continue with marriage counseling for the foreseeable future, and even though things have greatly improved, we have a long, rough road ahead of us. Not a happy update, but not a sad one either. Too long didn't read husband was cheating on his pregnant wife. I kicked him out. We both recognize that we fucked up our relationship and are trying to work through it. Update 2, January 14th, 2015, 1 month after the first update. Even though my posts haven't generated a lot of steam, I've gotten a few responses for an update. It's been 2 months since D-Day, and a lot has happened. My husband went back to work after his paternity leave, and each day would come home and relate any communication that him and this girl had. On his own, he would show me any texts or instant messages as well. Unfortunately, we had a few setbacks as the emotional side of this affair reared its ugly head. It was difficult for him to go back to work and still sit like 10 feet from her, so he started looking for a new job. I started stopping by the office a couple of times during the week so we could have lunch, which is something that we didn't do before, but felt that it was important to just spend some time together. The day after Christmas, he was laid off from his job. We don't know if there was an underlying reason other than budget, but we assume so. Like I said, he was showing me any digital communication that they were having that was supposed to be work-related, but unfortunately, this girl didn't get the memo from the day he returned from paternity until the day he was let go. There were several instances of her insisting that my husband leave me and the kids to be with her because I was a bitch and didn't deserve him, and she was way better than me. She even said that she would make pot roast for him in nothing but an apron and her stripper shoes. The day he was let go, she told him that she looks forward to seeing him again and that his new life was going to suck and that she would be waiting. He told her that they will never speak or see each other ever again. On that Monday, he had to go back to the office to drop off some materials, and he asked that I go with him. Right in front of me, HR, and the manager, he confessed to the affair. His status change had terminated for violating the sexual harassment policy at work. It sucks that he's now out of a job, but he's very marketable and has a few others that have already come in. It's a good thing that we aren't a single-income family. It was for the best for him leaving, and it was for the best in admitting what he did. Now he's seeing and feeling all the consequences to his actions and how they affect not just him, me, or her, but a whole host of other people. We are still in therapy, and that is going pretty well, and we will continue going. We're both getting a lot out of it. We're also both reading a book called Not Just Friends, and he's seeing how his relationship with her was inappropriate from the beginning, prior to any physical or emotional actions took place. And from that book, we've formulated boundaries on acceptable behavior with other people for when we go back to work. Like not going to lunch with the opposite sex unless it's a group outing, or using another person as a soundboard of problems unless we've talked to each other first. We also get up together and go to bed together, which was something that we no longer did. We spend 6 to 7, just each other, talking, every morning, about whatever, so we have some connection, and we watch movies, TV, and or talk in the evening after the kids go to bed to maintain that connection. He has come clean about the entire affair and gave me the nitty-gritty details so that I could stop running porn of them in my head. He also related on how the night I kicked him out, she showed up to his shitty motel with bags of an entire wardrobe, shoe collection, and all her toiletries because she was going to move in. This really pissed me off that she had some deluded fantasy that she was going to move into my house and take care of my kids because according to him, she really hated me and thought he could do better than me. He also gave back to her any and all gifts she ever gave him. He has had a lot of time to reflect on their relationship from beginning to end, and he's seeing that she used him to get ahead at work and for possibly a better life. He is seeing all the lies that she told him and how she manipulated situations to keep the affair going. Neither of us blame her per se, because he's even more responsible for this fuck-up, but she does bear some responsibility in all of this. She has now slept with 2 managers, had inappropriate sexual contact with 2 other managers, slept with a vendor, and also with 2 peers since May of 2014, in a company of 30 people. I'm not sure if she'll be working there much longer, but I don't really care. For now, she stopped texting him after he confessed to his work. She went kinda crazy and was calling and texting. He told her not to contact him or his family ever again. He blocked her number, and we haven't heard from her since. She has a new boyfriend, and we're fairly certain that after that relationship ends, she will attempt contact again. I'm still working on forgiveness of this affair and just trying to learn to live with it, and it's going to be a long process, but we're focused on ourselves and making our relationship stronger and healthier, and trying to no longer focus on her or what they had. My husband has started picking up a lot of the parenting duties that I did alone, like cooking, doing laundry, daycare drop-off, and pickup, and he's related a few times how it was bullshit I was doing all that alone, and it's really hard work. He told me the other day that he never realized what he had, an awesome wife, until he almost lost her, and I think he really means it. We're both working really hard to be better spouses and better parents, and so far, it's working pretty good. Some days suck, and some days are great, and we're just working through it one day at a time. Too long didn't read, my husband was terminated for the affair. She was still convinced he would leave his family, but he didn't. We're in therapy, reading a book, and trying to rebuild. things are okay. Relevant comments, Duck Hunter 7382. How was he terminated but yet she was allowed to keep her job? OP responds, because he violated sexual harassment policies, she was the victim. Duck Hunter 7382 responds further, the way the story has unfolded, it sounds like it was an affair with two willing participants. Her actions could also be seen as harassment. OP responds, although I agree with you, he was her manager, and their affair can be perceived as sexual harassment, even though it clearly wasn't. The company doesn't want to risk a lawsuit. Final update, August 31st, 2015, 7 months after the second update. I feel a need to update because it makes me feel better. So, 9 months after busting my husband, having an affair, and going to therapy for like 8 months or so, 10 days ago, I asked my husband to move out. He moved out last Saturday, so it's just me and my 2 kids right now. Around May, I just realized how really unhappy I am, that I will never bounce back from the affair. I'm just not built that way. It was just like the wool was pulled from my eyes, and I realized that every day for 5 months, he lied to me every time he opened his mouth. He used his child as a tool to continue the affair outside of work by pretending to take my kid to the park or play with him. All the while, he was sexting this girl and paying more attention to this girl than his own child. I also realized that he was using our child to pull at any maternal heartstrings that this girl may have, all the while talking trash about me that wasn't true and how he really felt about me. He brought my children into a very grown-up situation without any regard to their feelings or their interest. He introduced our son to a woman he hardly knew, and that is careless. Most people agonize over introducing new partners to their kids because they want their kids to like their partner, have a smooth transition, that kind of thing. And he just didn't care. It was all about him. Realized is probably the wrong word to use. I knew that he did because he told. But it was like I finally dealt with the gravity of what he did and how he just didn't care about anyone but himself because he felt he was entitled to have an affair. I feel bad that he moved out. He told me that he's heartbroken and stuff, and I feel bad, but he didn't think about me or our family when he was having an affair. He could have cared less about how his actions were affecting us. He didn't care about his family, his home, or his job to keep it in his pants. I don't trust anything he says. Between the day that I asked him to leave to the day that he left, it was fairly difficult. He blamed me a lot for everything that he did his best to try to rebuild and help me and stuff, but apparently that isn't good enough for me. I tried to explain that folding some laundry and hanging out with the kids does not take away his actions, but I wasn't getting anywhere. He was really manipulating me to ask him to stay, that our son would suffer for my decision, that I didn't try. He was inconveniencing me by being around. I would try to even have small talk with him, and he would ignore and walk out of the room and then come back like an hour later and demand to know why I was ignoring him. Honestly, our relationship has more or less been like this. He manipulates me a lot, gaslights me by saying something mean and then denying it. He blames me for almost everything, constantly criticizes me how I don't do things right, like load the dishwasher, cook dinner, stuff like that. He also has a fucking terrible temper and has started projecting his temper on the kids, yelling at them, stomping on toys and kicking them and threatening them. All of our stupid shit too, like spilling milk on the floor and stuff. On Friday, while I was feeding the baby, I left the room for a few minutes and came back to him telling our 4-year-old that mommy wants him to move out of the house and that mommy doesn't like him anymore. It was really fucked up. My son yelled at me, "Why do you not like daddy anymore?" while crying. I was just baffled that he was telling our son this stuff, and honestly, I felt like he was trying to get my son to blame me for this. I smoothed that over with my son, and he's totally fine now and hasn't asked about my husband since he left Saturday morning. Sorry to kind of babble, but talking about it makes me feel better. Anyway, I'm in the process of doing some basic renovations on our house. I'm finding a therapist for me, and I have an appointment with an attorney for a support order and parenting plan. I feel good about this, and since Saturday, I can finally breathe and it feels good. Too long didn't read, husband fucked a coworker, went to therapy, but I'm not cut out to bounce back after an affair because affairs are one of the worst things that you can do to your partner. Final comments. OP responds to a long comment. Who is a deleted user? I know I'm going to get eaten alive for this, but I have to say it anyway. OP, you were a terrible spouse. Quoting. We hadn't had sex since our baby was conceived and had limited sexual or intimate contact prior to that. Honestly, I was planning on filing for divorce soon after the birth of our baby. I can't say that he was any better, he cheated on you, but he did, from your updates, come clean to you, including all of the details of the affair, come clean to his job in front of you, cease the relationship with his girl and stop talking to her, rebuffed further advances from this girl, stepped up and started helping out with the kids, making dinner, doing chores, and spending time with his family, made you his top priority, communicated more instead of letting things fester, he was open and honest with you, and tried to rebuild your trust. In short, you guys had a fucked up relationship, which sounds like it should have ended years ago. His cheating isn't excusable, but doesn't exist in a vacuum. You guys didn't have sex for almost a year, and you were planning on divorcing him as soon as the baby was born. Following the affair, he did everything right by the numbers and put in the work to repair your relationship. Now, a year later, you still want out and are using the affair as justification. You kicked him to the curb and completely invalidated all of the work you both put in over the last 9 months. I left the room for a few minutes and came back to him telling our 4-year-old that mommy wants him to move out of the house and that mommy doesn't like him anymore. You guys should have told your child together what was happening. It's important that kids that age have separations explain that their parent isn't leaving because of something they did. It's not a one-time conversation, and you both handled it poorly. The fuck? You both need to sit down with your child and explain that sometimes adults decide to not live together, but that he still has 2 parents who love him, and that's never going to change. Edit, please reply and tell me where I'm going off track instead of just downvoting. I'm not trying to be a jerk or trolling. I just want to ask if you even read the same update that we all did, because it doesn't sound like it. The husband started becoming more passive-aggressive in areas and started ignoring the wife and being just extremely, difficult, even during the recovery period. It sounds like from what OP described, he started going back to his old ways. OP trying to have small talk with him and him just leaving the room and then coming back later and saying that OP's ignoring him, blaming her for almost everything, criticizing everything that she does or doesn't do properly, yelling at the kids, projecting his anger, stomping on toys, all over things like spilling milk. Because yeah, after trying to heal from an affair, stomping on the kids' toys and yelling at them over spilled milk quite literally, yeah, that's definitely gonna help OP come to terms with it. On top of that, how the fuck can you with your full chest say that both of you handled the conversation with the child about the father leaving poorly when he's the one who literally weaponized the child against OP? What the fuck? Literally as it went down, OP comes in the room, finds out that the father was pretty much poisoning his mind and being like, "Mommy hates me and wants me gone." Child starts crying. Mother takes care of it, explains it. He's now fine and understanding with it, but your response is, you guys really just poorly handled it on both sides. The fuck do you want? Are there areas that OP messed up? Sure, but some of the points you bring up just come across like you didn't even fucking read what OP posted. OP's response: stepped up and started helping with the kids, making dinner, doing chores, and spending time with his family. This does not absolve an affair, and honestly, is playing Destiny the whole weekend in the basement really count as helping out with the kids, making dinner and doing chores and spending time with his family? Does having the requirement that I have to ask him to do things that are totally obvious that need to be done really count as helping out? I'm not his mom. He was open and honest with you and tried to rebuild your trust. It takes years to rebuild trust and a single moment to wipe it out. He has not been honest nor open. He feels that he has, but his web history shows something different. You guys should have told your child together what was happening. It's important that kids that age have separations explain that their parent isn't leaving because of something they did. It's not a one-time conversation, and you both handled it poorly. You both need to sit down with your child and explain that sometimes adults decide to not live together, but that he still has 2 parents who love him, and that's never going to change. I agree with you, except that we both handled it poorly. I had no idea that he wanted to have this discussion with our son during dinner. He purposely waited until I left the room to have the discussion. I wasn't a part of the conversation because he did not allow me to be. I immediately came over and sat down with my son while he cried and screamed at me, and I had to explain to my son that this was not his fault and he didn't do anything, and that we both loved him and we both tried really hard to be a good family. I also had to explain that Daddy was moving out, but only down the road, and things will be different, but we will still hang out as a family and have dinner, and that we are still a family. So don't tell me I handled it poorly. I didn't put blame on anyone and made sure that my son knew that he was loved. Fucking fence-sitting Andy over here. Following the affair, he did everything right by the numbers and put in the work to repair your relationship. Now, a year later, you still want out and are using the affair as justification. You kicked him to the curb and completely invalidated all the work you both put in over the last 9 months. Yes, he did everything right, but that doesn't erase what he did. I tried to. I mean, I am the one that had to schedule all the marriage counseling appointments. Not to mention, I paid for all of them out of my own pocket. Not his, mine. I didn't invalidate anything. There are two types of people in this world when it comes to affairs, those that can bounce back and those that can't. I can't. You have made a lot of assumptions here. Hope I could clear up the misunderstanding. And what was in the web history? He was looking at escort sites and was stalking a friend on the internet that he had to have sex with a couple of years ago. When he told that he had solicited her for sex and she said no because he was married, I told him that he was not to have anything to do with her anymore. But here he is, jerking off to her pics on Facebook and Tumblr. He also has a Tinder account. OP's final comment summarizing the end. This comment is actually in response to Fence-sitting Andy, by the way. Our relationship did not fail because of the affair, it failed because we lacked communication. A lot of our issues could have been resolved if we communicated better. By the time we both realized we had major issues, the affair already happened. The affair is the final straw. I also tried really hard. We both did right after the discovery of the affair, but the changes were not sustainable. Fence-sitting Andy also tried to claim victory after this, by the way. Pretty much being like, this was exactly my point, despite being dragged on 99% of his other claims. In the end, OP tried to do the best by her family and recover the damage the two of them had done over the course of years to their marriage. Sounds like the husband was kind of always a little extra selfish though with how much time he would spend for himself, and leaving OP to have to essentially be super parent. Yeah, of course a gap is going to be drawn there, and miscommunication isn't really going to fix selfishness. After the affair, they tried to rebuild it, but OP just couldn't get past the pain that was inflicted by the affair. Didn't help that a lot of his other behaviors that kept persisting after they were working on things definitely wouldn't aid them trying to actually reconcile, especially if he's getting violent with his children over spilled milk. That's just unacceptable. You enter the cave of Outro. You find yourself in front of an ancient tablet and you attempt to translate it. What do you roll? Oh, that's an unfortunate nat 1. Well, your translation kind of roughly translates to, did you know if you use code EYES at GamerSupps you get 10% off of any of your purchases? Linky in the description below if you want to give that a shot. You now realize that you've walked into the cave of Outro, and not the cave you were supposed to go to. And the DM has nothing but a smirk on his face as he rolls a nat 20 and tells you to roll for initiative. Prepare for the lemmings is the only warning you're given. Actually, I just got a fucking crazy idea. What if I did like a daily outro choose your own adventure and I used the community poll so the audience would choose what they're doing next? That could be a lot of fun.